The Seattle Seahawks need to get back on track tonight with a win over the Chicago Bears. What's going on, everybody? Good morning. It is game day. We are just about 8 hours away from kickoff in Chicago. Seahawks Bears. Probably not the game the NFL was hoping they would get when they put this game on the primetime schedule, but it's a primetime game regardless. And last time we played on primetime, not only did we lose, we kind of got embarrassed. So definitely would like to avoid that. And let's face it, anything other than a win is embarrassing in these circumstances. This video is powered by BetUS. And look, I know that many Seahawks fans have already said this game doesn't matter because our fate is in the hands of other teams. And that's likely true. I understand that we can lose this game and win the division next week if the Rams lose to the Cardinals. I know that. But I don't want to lose to the Bears, and I don't want to be here in a couple of weeks talking about how the Seahawks got their lucky breaks. Like, we've talked about it already. You guys know the breaks that we need. We need the Broncos to do their thing. We need the Dolphins to do their thing. We need the Bills. We need the Vikings. We need all these teams to cooperate with the Seahawks, right? I think we all have a general idea of maybe we don't know exactly the kind of help that we need, but we have a general idea of the help we need from these other teams. I don't want to be sitting here in a couple weeks talking about how, hey, we got the help we needed, but it didn't matter because we lost to the Bears. I don't want to sit here and say that because, I feel pretty decent about where this team is headed long term. I like the big picture right now. I think we got the right coach. I think we got the right quarterback. I think we got some nice foundational pieces that I'm optimistic about, and we have other good players that I think can help. There's some stuff that needs to be done, but I think we are headed in the right direction. Maybe it's moving a little slower than we would have liked, but I think we are moving in the right direction. But it's going to be harder to feel that way if I'm sitting here after another 9-win season, or maybe even 8-win season, where the door got opened by the other teams performing and you just decided to not go through it. I don't want to have that conversation because that's going to make me, well, for one, it's just embarrassing, but it's more than just that. Because at a certain point, you do have to start wondering, like, hey, I hope these things that are clearly not okay with this team get fixed. I hope that whatever mistake would lead to us losing to the Bears in this game would be fixed, but you don't know if it's going to be fixed. You don't know if it's going to be addressed properly. I don't want to have more stuff to think about this offseason. If the Seattle Seahawks miss the playoffs this year, and which, by the way, it's likely they miss the playoffs right now, I want it to be because we won 10 games and we kind of caught the short end of the stick. Because in the modern NFL, if you win 10 games, you usually make the playoffs. So if this Seahawks team goes 10-7, wins these last 2 games, and they don't get in because they still didn't get the wild card and they didn't win the division, then that's something that I, as a fan, am willing to just kind of live with and just accept that there is some luck in this sport. And sometimes you can do the right stuff and just not get the right result. And winning 10 games is a pretty reasonable result in a coach's first year. And if it's not enough, then it's not enough. And that's the way the cookie crumbles. But let that be the conversation. I don't want the conversation to be, well, we had the back door open for us. We had the door open for us to win 10 games and get in. And guess what? We couldn't take care of the Bears. Don't let that be the convo. Before I go any further, though, I do want to tell you about my friends over at BetUS. You can head on over there right now. You can bet on this game tonight, Bears Seahawks. You can bet on games on Saturday. You can bet on games on Sunday. You can bet on the Monday night game. You can bet on college football playoff stuff. You can bet on bowl games. You can bet on all kinds of sports stuff. basketball, hockey, point spreads, money line totals, game props, all kinds of fun stuff over on BetUS. Promo code YouTube150 will get you a 150% deposit bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000 and 125% deposit bonus on your next two deposits up to $2,000. Also, keep an eye out in the next couple of days for a video where I will be giving out some free bets to some of my viewers. All right. Get over to BetUS, get your free money, and get to some betting. So, we got to talk about this Bears team, and I'll say it up front. The Bears have been so lifeless and so without an identity for a couple of months now, and really the last 3 weeks it has accelerated, that it's almost hard to talk about them because there's nothing going on there right now. I don't feel like they do anything that well. So it's hard to talk about this team because they're just going through the motions, but still got to talk about it. So what I can say is that before this season started, I was high on the Bears offense and I was scared about this game. I viewed it as a Shane Waldron revenge game. I viewed it as a game that could get mixed up by bad weather. Apparently there's not going to be bad weather, by the way, so maybe wipe that off the board real quick. Okay, so the weather's going to be fine, but even with that, I was thinking exciting rookie Caleb Williams, who I was very high on coming out of college, DeAndre Swift quality running back, 3 good receivers, a good tight end. I was like, this Bears offense could be a problem. Maybe they wouldn't be great this year, but I thought they'd be difficult to deal with. It hasn't really happened. For one, Shane Waldron's gone, so there's no Shane Waldron revenge. So we don't have to think about that. And we also don't really have to think about the other things all that much either. DeAndre Swift is still good, but that receiver core is not really panned out. DJ Moore's a good player, and he's not having a bad season, but he's averaging less than 10 yards a catch, which that's not the DJ Moore that I knew and grew up with. That doesn't sound like DJ Moore to me. That sounds like, I don't know, that sounds like a tight end. That sounds like something a tight end would do. Rome Odunze, who, I tell you, by the time I was done with the draft process before the draft last year, or earlier this year now, I was very, very high on him, and I thought he was going to be the next Larry Fitzgerald, and he still could be, but I tell you, this rookie year has been pretty anonymous. He's been whatever. And Keenan Allen, slow, sluggish. Some people say he's overweight. It just hasn't, nothing's really come together on that offense the way that I thought, except for maybe Caleb. Caleb, he has bad moments, but overall I think he's playing good football. Even if you just look at his box score stats, they don't look nearly as bad as social media would have you believe. He's having a pretty good year, and I think that given the offensive line that he's working with, it's even a little better than that. But the stuff around him just hasn't coalesced into anything good. And the last few weeks, since Eberflus got fired, it's been even worse. So what can I say about this offense? Like even Cole Kmet, who I thought was going to be a really good tight end for them this year, he's been he's okay, he's fine, but there's not much to say about this offense really. Right now, as of right now, I'm not 100% sure they do anything all that well. And I'm surprised that we are here right now, but here we are. So, right off the bat, I feel like we can get pressure on Caleb. They don't have Tevin Jenkins. That offensive line, not that good. You should be able to get pressure. And Uchenna Nwosu doesn't look like a player who is worth the contract that he's currently on right now, admittedly, but his return, I do think, is going to make this run defense a lot more stable, and it will become stable without requiring a player to play out of his mind. There was a time where this Seahawks defense was stopping the run, largely because Ernest Jones was playing out of his mind. And that's not sustainable all the time. Ernest Jones is not Ray Lewis. He's not Dick Butkus. He's not some hype top 1 of 1 linebacker. Sometimes he's not going to play like a superhero. So getting Uchenna Nwosu back has been nice. He sets the edge a lot better than Derek Hall or Draymond Jones. So I think we can stop the run, and there isn't really a lot left else. Like you can force Caleb into making mistakes here. He still hasn't gotten the superhero, the Superman gene out of his mind yet as a quarterback in this league. And in his defense, I don't know if I can really blame him that much for that when, I mean, you look at this Bears team, they kind of need Superman to come and save them. So when he tries to do something that he shouldn't do because he trusts his talent, it's not good, but at the same time, I kind of get it. There's nothing going on here that should settle him down. He doesn't have coaching, and he doesn't really have players around him to settle things. So I think we can stop the run, and I think we can get pressure on Caleb. And he hasn't turned the ball over a ton this year, but I think we can get our turnovers, and that should kind of take care of it. That should be good on that side. So it's the other side that I think about as we go into this game. It's the Bears defense. They're pretty okay. Earlier this year, they were a lot better. They've had some really bad games lately. Things have definitely fallen off. You lose your head coach. You've got this terrible offense backing you up. Things are going to crack eventually. They won't have Elijah Hicks for this game. We know that. So they're not even playing with a full deck right now. But it's still a pretty okay defense. Early this year, I actually thought they were playing relatively elite football, and then things just kind of got away from them. The Hail Mary maybe mentally broke them a little bit, and also, like I said, it's hard with the offense. But I don't know what to expect from this Seahawks offense anymore. I just don't. I know we played well last week. Overall, I want to stress this because some people kind of lost it in the discussions we had after that Vikings game. The offense played well. 24 points against the Vikings defense is not easy. You don't put up 24 points on that Vikings defense for free. You got to do good work to do that. And there are definitely some players on this team that deserve a lot of credit for getting them to that point. But that doesn't change the fact that this team clearly has a problem with balancing themselves. And that was a game that maybe more than any other this year demanded balance and the complete abandoning of the run. And look, I don't care if Walker was hurt and Charbonnet was hurt. Run the ball with Kenny McIntosh. You got to balance things out a little bit with a quarterback with a bad knee. You have to. Even if it's George Holani out there, or you have to put JSN at running back for the last part of the game, you got to try to find some way to balance it in that circumstance. So I know that the team is still good enough to put up points on that Vikings defense even when they don't balance their offense, but I know they're capable of not balancing the offense, and sometimes you do that and you get a result where you score 10 points, you score 13 points. That's the thing, right? It's not sustainable, it's not predictable, it's not steady. Everything's like dependent on the players. And last week, to my eye, a lot of what we got offensively was very dependent on the players just making superlative plays. As much as he disappeared in the second half, we needed DK Metcalf to make some super catches. We needed JSN to make some super catches. We needed Geno Smith to make some remarkable shoebox throws. We needed him to do some pretty crazy stuff out there to get those points. It was not because Ryan Grubb was dialing up a masterpiece and getting receivers wide open. No. There's a little bit of that. But even on that level, I see an offense that is almost entirely dependent on players just playing above their heads. Playing above almost anybody's head. I think about that one JSN catch where Geno literally has to fit the ball between the head and the upraised arm of the defender, basically. Like, that's not something I'm giving Grubb credit for. So you put your players in that exact same circumstance the next week. Those balls are off by a quarter of an inch, they get batted down. Those balls are off by a half an inch, they get picked off. Those catches are mismeasured by the wide receiver by a couple millimeters. They're dropped. They're incomplete. And that is the high variance that makes you uncomfortable because, again, I think this Bears defense is talented. I think they were good, and they'd be good if not for the fact that they're getting overworked. But you can never trust this offense because they don't do the basic things they're supposed to do. They don't run the ball when they need to run it. They don't balance the offense. They don't show things and then do other things pre-snap. Everything, or post-snap, excuse me. Everything this team does is given away pre-snap. I can't look this data up for myself, so I cannot confirm it. But I have been told by people that did actually find these numbers. The Seahawks pass the ball about 90% of the time in shotgun, and they run the ball about 90% of the time when under center. That should be a non-starter right there. That should be an immediate red flag that whoever is running this offense thinks this is Pop Warner, and he's got a team of 17-year-olds going up against 8-year-olds, and it doesn't matter what he does. That's what that says to me. So, with that being the case, and we're in week 16, or week 17, nothing's going to change. He's not suddenly going to come out and be like, hey, I figured it out this week. Maybe he starts running the ball just because he feels like he's going to get fired and he doesn't want to get fired, and he knows that everybody's going to be on him if they don't balance it out, but you know he doesn't want to. So you're going into this game knowing that at any given time he could just decide, hey, no balance. We're going to act like we're the Texas Tech Red Raiders when they had Cliff Kingsbury at quarterback and Michael Crabtree at wide receiver. That's the offense we're running. And either the players go over the top and we score enough to win, or they don't and we lose. But I think we find our way. I'm going something like 24-13. I just don't think the Bears are going to be able to keep up. And I think maybe we even get some turnovers that make it elementary for us to win. We don't even have to do that much. Stream of the Hawks Nest starts in a few hours. We're going to go at noon, and we're going to wrap up a few hours before the game. Thank you to BetUS for powering this video. I will see you guys later. Go Hawks.